freaking first cut. Golly. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your mega preview pod for this week's PGA Championships. That's storylines, best bets, one and done. Joining me to break it all down, Patrick McDonald is here. Hello, Patrick.
What's going on, gang? We got an old school golf course, some old school Wi-Fi connection issues, and I'm excited to talk about it all.
We are hot spot.
Spoke it into
right
existence.
Now here at the hotel. Greg.
Hi, Greg. Hey, Rick. The hot spot is a little spotty. We'll see how it plays out the rest of the way. But I know we're making do, and I'm excited about it, and I'm here to talk about it no matter what. So many stories to get into, so many different storylines. And, you know, there wasn't a huge build-up to this major championship, but I do feel like between this week and last week, it's really kind of stepped up a little bit. And now I'm getting really excited. I know we're going to have a great tournament.
And despite sitting just mere, meters away from me in a different hotel room, Kyle Porter is here. Hello, KP.
How we doing, Rick? It's a tough week for me so far. Not great. Not a great week. Took forever to get here. Lost luggage, broken sunglasses, Wi-Fi is shady. It's just been the course is great though, which is all anybody cares about. Nobody cares about my plight in life. The golf course is great. I think and maybe we can start here. It hasn't, to your point, Greg, it hasn't felt like a major championship yet. Rick and I were talking about this on the way out of the media center today, and I don't know what it is. I think there's some it's hard because at the Masters you get everybody's press conference feels like a personal State of the Union. Like, this is where I'm at for the year, and like this is my whole sort of spiel. And then the PGA Championship press conferences just feel like a come down from that, which is normal, but it just, I don't know. It's felt hard to get into this as a major championship. But I think once Thursday rolls around, hopefully we'll all be there.
Yeah, well, how has it been for you, Patrick? Have you felt the juice this week?
Well, kind of like to Kyle's point, the press, it's really hard to kind of, you know, in school when you do a presentation in front of class and you kind of want to go after the guy who butchers it, right? You don't want to go after the person who did a really good job. Well, the PGA Championship, they have to go after the Masters every single year. So it's tough to live up to those expectations. And then kind of like Kyle said in the media center, they don't have this big press building just for them. The PGA guys, I don't know why they didn't have the podium for them. They're just Free Willy out in front of the media today.
Free Willy?
Yeah, it was just the mic and them. They didn't have the podium or anything. I'm sure they felt a little naked to an extent, getting peppered with live questions and whatnot. So, but to Kyle's point, it's just tough to follow up the Masters, and it's just such a rapid pace these major championships come by where it is tough to get up to. But I mean, this time tomorrow, I'm sure we'll all be fine.
Whose press conference were you most intrigued by, Patrick?
Probably I missed the afternoon guys. I was head down in some paperwork, but I was honestly intrigued about the PGA.
Some paperwork? Were you like buying a house or what?
Some admin?
No, I was doing pros and cons list for Justin Thomas. But the PGA people themselves, I was actually pretty interested in what they said, because they talked about how Kerry Hay was like, we just pretty much pick whoever we want to pick to play in this championship. Which I thought was riveting.
Maybe not the greatest way to go about that. I mean, it doesn't lead to anything crazy, but it feels like there should be more of like some parameters maybe.
Yeah, I think Doug Ferguson asked, why did Paul Casey get in instead of Louis Oosthuizen? And he was like, Paul's played pretty well at the PGA Championship. And he was also on the Ryder Cup team. So we went with Paul. It's like, are these guys like handing out like bids to a fraternity? They just have everyone up on the screen and they're like, nah, kind of weird. We don't want them. Like,
Ricky got that exemption in 2021.
Exactly. So it's all,
like,
to me,
I don't know. He shaved USA into his head one year at the Ryder Cup. I think he's in.
Exactly. So I think that was kind of the biggest press conference today were the PGA guys.
Well, certainly whatever it takes to get yourself in the field, and it's going to take a lot to contend because Greg Oak Hill is sick, and I think it's going to be pretty difficult. Obviously, we'll start with what it is not, and it is not the golf course from 10 years ago, right? So just forget that out of your brain. All the trees that have been removed, different sight lines. There is a hole that didn't even exist the last time we did this. I mean, this is not the same golf course, and it should not be treated as such.
No, it's also at a different time of year. Playing golf in the Northeast in May and playing golf in the Northeast in August are two totally different animals in and of itself. And then you add in this restoration and all the work that has been done. I mean, the bunkers look different. The greens are going to play significantly different than they did back in 2013. And of course, the trees would be the highlighted area. I also think the changes to 5, 6, and 15 will be significant as well. You have an entirely new hole in number 5. 15 will feel like an entirely new hole as they've kind of moved the green away from the water area that was just to the front right of the green back in 2013. So a lot of changes, but from what I've heard from the players today, it sounds very similar to what Kyle and I talked about on Sunday. A big golf course that's going to put a big premium on driving to the golf ball. The rough doesn't seem to be too long, but it does seem to be very thick. A much thicker blade of grass than we're used to seeing, as Max Homa said, on the PGA Tour, which kind of brings us to a Bethpage feel, a winged foot feel, which has been noted by many of the players as well.
KP, you got your first crack at this golf course today. What were your initial takeaways from what you saw out there on Tuesday?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I just want to give myself credit for calling the Wingfoot comp on Sunday. Greg might be the only one that remembers that, but heard that from several players this week. It's interesting because I was talking to one player today, and he was talking about how he's like, listen, it's not like Bethpage in that only, I said this, he didn't say it, but I was like, only 4 guys could win Bethpage, right? And that's because it's so brawny and sprawling and just massive. This isn't, it's big, but it's not like Bethpage big where it feels like this, like the Polo Grounds in baseball. The difference here is like, if you hit fairways, even if you're shorter, you can contend with guys that are like blowing it past you if they're in the rough. That wasn't necessarily true at Bethpage. And I think that's why this year feels a little bit, or this PGA Championship feels a little bit wing-footy. Now, the argument against wing-foot is like, you can't sort of chunk and run it into every green here like you could there. That's mostly true here, but it's not totally true. As you saw when you were walking around, Rick. And then the last thing is the par 3s are just treacherous. I mean, number 11 is a hole that I stood on for a while today and just watched shots into there. It's 245. Guys are hitting 3 woods, 5 woods, and the ball is just getting Rudy Gobert out of the air. I mean, just swatted all over the place by this 30-mile-an-hour wind and right toward a hazard. And we saw Mark afterwards, Rick, and he was like, it's big boy stuff, big boy golf only. And that's true. I think it's going to be a flushers only PGA Championship, which is what we've gotten for almost every one of the last 6 of them.
3 and 11 are monster par threes. Then you go to, I think it's 15 on the back, which is only 155 yards. It's the shortest par three. But if you are down in the collection area on the right, you are in big trouble. Put a red X on that on your scorecard. You will see guys who leave it down there and have the ball roll back to their feet. It is a set of threes, Patrick, that are really tough. And then what I love about it, and one of my favorite features, and there's a little bit about this about Southern Hills, is, you know, the creek that runs throughout around this golf course, it comes into play so often and it changes a lot of the shots. So like 7, for example, you're coming off 6, which I think is going to be incredibly difficult golf hole, especially if it plays into the prevailing wind. And then 7 asks you to hit a committed shot where you can pick any club you want and you can pick any line you want, but if you get it wrong, you're in the creek, right? It's just like there's a risk reward aspect to it, and I love how much it comes into play.
15 with the new runoff. That's the one that had the Fazio Pond. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and
he got away with highway robbery by putting a pond in there. But yeah, I'm interested. Kind of going back to the Wingfoot comp. The reason like Bryson was able to kind of dismantle that was because everyone was missing fairways. The fairways were so firm. Kyle, I'll just throw this to you because you're out there. I mean, they're already like mentioning the fairways are pretty firm. Do you see like something like that occurring possibly where it's a 50% fairway hit rate for the field?
Yeah, they're firm, but I don't think it's going to be interesting actually to see what happens with the weather over the next 2 or 3 days, because you're going to get maybe a little bit of rain to soften them. I think Homo was talking about this today, where it's like, yeah, they're firm, but they're not crazy firm. So I don't think they're quite. I wasn't at Wingfoot. I don't think they're quite what we saw at Wingfoot in terms of firmness, but I mean, Rick probably saw more of these like drives than I did. The fairways canter in such a way where it's kind of hard to hold some of them unless you hit a perfect drive. So I almost wonder if the cantering of the fairways makes up for the lack of firmness to the point that, yeah, guys are just going to be in the rough all over the place, which is why I almost feel like it's not Bethpage where only 2 or 3 guys can win, but I feel like it's a little adjacent to that, where I'm kind of to the point where can only 7 guys win this tournament? Can only 10 guys win this tournament? And it's just, you know, the Scheffler, Rahm sort of Rory crew.
I did touch them all today. The one thing that I enjoy about this, and Greg, we'll put a bow on this because you talked about some of the tree removal. The trees that remained are very strategically placed. And even if you are, you know, if your ball gets to the left side of fairway, you might have to hit a shot shape around a tree that's overhanging. Like the trees that remained are still not a problem, but something that you have to consider. So it requires just a lot of strong drives, whether that means long, whether it means shaped correctly, whether it means finding the fairway when others are not. It just requires a lot of strong shots.
Yes, absolutely. To have the ideal shot. But the other thing about tree removal is it gives you oftentimes an opportunity to recover. Even if you have to hit a shot around or under or over a tree that's in the way, if you have a swing, you have a shot. And so I think it could open up potentially some more of that creativity, which is the beauty of trees. It's why trees are really important. But that doesn't mean we have to have woods on both sides of the fairway. You want to be able to play your shot. And as they say here, they have they remove the appropriate number of trees. And so they will still define this tournament in a big way. You're not going to see guys losing golf balls necessarily, but you will see the trees, you know, play a major role. They'll still play a factor.
Yeah, Greg, in that sense, it was. I know I'm bringing every course comp into the picture here, but it felt a little Southern Hillsy in terms of the tree, like the amount of trees that were in the position of them, because, you know, last year at Southern Hills, there's not an extraordinary amount of trees, but if you get in the wrong spot, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, there was somebody on 10, 11, 12, like 13 last year, that par 5. It might have been somebody in the playoff if you're out to the left at Southern Hills on 13, the par 5. I think it was a par 5. Then you have to hit this like hooking shot over water back to the green to try to make an eagle there. And I feel a little bit the same way about Oak Hill in that the appropriate amount of trees thing actually rings true. I know it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek type thing, but it actually, being out there, it feels like they removed the appropriate amount of trees to open it up, but not make it too open, if that makes sense. So I do think you're still going to have you're going to see some guys hit recovery shots, but you're not going to see guys lose balls like maybe they would in previous years.
That it'll be fascinating to watch. And like I said, I think it's going to be a big part of the story. And like so often at major championships, the golf course is the story. But, this year there are so many other storylines that go along with it. And one of them is world number 1, Jon Rahm. And Jon Rahm's in a position now where, Patrick, I thought your tweet on this was really interesting. He has an opportunity to win a second major of the year. And it's a very rare thing, as you pointed out, to win the first 2 legs of, the first 2 majors of the season. It hasn't happened very often, only 2 times in the last 50 years, which I thought was incredible. So when you look at Jon Rahm's chances this week, are we going to add another name to that list?
It's really hard to sit here and say no. Right. I mean, he is the number 1 player in the world. He's already won 4 times this year. And kind of the early spring, the bugaboo he had going on before the Masters, in my opinion, was the driver. It wasn't up to the Jon Rahm standard. It kind of peeked its head there at the Genesis Invitational late. It came to bite him in the butt there at the Arnold Palmer with his left misses, played poorly at the match play. And then all is forgiven when you boat race the field Sunday at Augusta National and win the Masters by 3 strokes. So followed that up with 61 down there in Mexico, nearly beat Tony Finau for his 5th win before 5th month of the year. And he sounds confident. We were talking about the press conferences earlier. It was crazy, kind of the contrasting tone between Rory McIlroy and then Jon Rahm right behind him, where Rory was done, talking about live, talking about the extracurriculars. He just wants to stay in his own lane this week, focus on golf and go for number 5. And John was happy-go-lucky. I think in a benefit that not a lot of people understand is Jon Rahm can be happy-go-lucky. He doesn't have to, face all this live stuff because Rory McIlroy took a lot of it on his plate. Right. And so while what Rory has done has been great for the PGA Tour players, it has also been great from the aspect of all the outside noise they don't have to deal with at all. And I think it's been extremely beneficial for someone like Jon Rahm, whose voice is very respected. I think every time he talks in front of the media, he gains more and more respect for what he's saying and how he delivers it. And I think it's all setting up perfectly for him. I think, like Kyle said, it could be a 7-man race, and Jon Rahm's the thoroughbred in it.
KP, do you think that, you mentioned that bugaboo, you look at his driving stuff, since the Masters, and there's an event at the Masters where he gains over 7 strokes off the tee, and then in Mexico gains over 6. It seems like he's kind of answered the question with the driver in hand. Are you feeling confident with that club for him this week?
Yeah, I am. It's what's really interesting about he's having an extraordinary year, right? I looked this up. He's lost to, I think, 15 players in April. He lost to 15 guys, and that was his 2nd worst month of the year. He lost to, I think, 2 guys in January, 6 guys in February, and 15 in April. And I don't know that people are appreciating what he's doing. And I think that, to answer your question, yeah, I think driver is good enough. Now, I think the flip side of that argument is like, Yeah, he kind of struggled on some harder driving courses than Augusta National and the Mexico Open, right? Like those are not necessarily. You can kind of be in. You don't want to be super accurate, and so I think it does. This week will be a little bit telling, but I mean, listen, like this course plays into his hands, not just because he's really long, but also because he has unbelievable touch around the greens. And I think that's sort of the hidden talent of Jon Rahm is to have that kind of touch. It just saves you and saves you and saves you when you need it at major championships. And I don't know, Greg, I don't know where you're at, but I legit think this could be, I mean, to take the Grand Slam for a single year into the summer, we haven't seen it since Spieth, right? We haven't seen it since 2015. And how many times I was talking to Matt Every today. He was out there. He's doing some ESPN Plus stuff. And we were talking about how often has somebody won the Masters and also been the favorite at the next three majors? Like probably not since Tiger, right? Where
Right.
you win the first one and then hey, you're the like the favorite to win the Slam, right? And it's not going to happen because it doesn't happen. But I really think that he could take it to the U.S. Open this year, which would be kind of center stage in terms of a sports story, which would be pretty awesome for golf this year.
Yeah, even when Spieth won the Masters the way he did and the U.S. Open, you still kind of wondered, is this real? Can he do this again? Whereas with Jon Rahm, his game feels so complete. You really feel like he's a dominant force in the game. And there have been times, Patrick, where Rory McIlroy has also been a dominant force in the game, but he's never had this opportunity because the Masters has been such a struggle. And this, you highlighted the difference. I thought this contrast this morning was fascinating between Rory McIlroy and Jon Rahm's pressers. And Rory sounded to be in a very different place. So I guess the question is do you think that's a strategy for Rory? Is this a concern for Rory? I mean, what's your kind of outlook on Rory McIlroy at this point?
He sounded both like down in the dumps, but also ticked off at the same time. And I kind of liked the ticked off portion of it, although he backtracked towards the end. Someone asked him about the final round there in 2014, kind of being a killer.
Is this the most normal podcast? Can you hear us?
It's a party in the hotel. Motel, Holiday Inn.
I don't know, Patrick. I don't know what he's singing right now, but this is what it's come to. Rick couldn't get his internet working, so he ran down to he ran up. Yeah, he's in the
penthouse suite.
That's not true. But here we are. We're locked in. Keep going on Rory. I want to hear this, Patrick.
Yeah. Okay. I liked how he did sound ticked off, but he backtracked a little bit at the end when someone asked him if he's still capable of kind of harnessing that on the golf course, the final round of the 2014 PGA when, Phil was in the mix, Ricky was in the mix. And he's like, he doesn't think he needs to be successful on the golf course. And he doesn't like living life that way. Rory obviously knows Rory McIlroy a lot better than Patrick McDonald knows Rory McIlroy. But
that's surprising.
On the off chance he doesn't, I would love to see Rory McIlroy just have an FU attitude. And maybe we saw a little bit of that today.
Are you talking about for this week in general, overall? Like, what's your like? What are you talking about here?
On the golf course, like and major week, sure, let's do it. It's worked for Brooks Koepka. It has worked for Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm's kind of opened up a bit more, but their presence has a hint of intimidation to it, and Rory McIlroy's hasn't for a pretty long time.
I think it's interesting because that quote, I tweeted about this, that quote, more than any other quote that he's given in the last, year, I think explains his career, right? Like the persona that he took on in 2014, 2012, whatever, like I'm a badass, I'm going to destroy everybody. that's not really like who he is as a person, right? And I think he found it to be. I think he got to a point in his career where he's like, I don't want to be Tiger, right? Like I don't want to sort of give up my personality and like my joviality to be this like guy that everybody's scared of, because that's not who I am, you know. And I thought that was really interesting. But I think the case for what you're saying, Patrick, the case to be made for what you're saying is what he does at the Ryder Cup. Those weeks are exhausting for him, but he's willing to play this. I mean, think about Hazeltine. He said, I think it was after Hazeltine, he's like, this is like, I don't act like this at home. I'm not like a maniac at home, but for the sake of my team, I know they need me to play this role, and I'm willing to do it for 3 days or for 4 days. And I think that contrasted to what I said earlier about that's not really who he is this sort of tension that he feels every time he plays in a big time tournament.
Rick, before we head to a break, is this what Rory McIlroy needs? Did you look at this presser today as a positive or something that was concerning?
I think he's trying everything. I think he has tried, hey, I'm going to play my way into a major. Hey, I'm going to rest into a major. Hey, I'm going to say I don't care. Hey, I'm going to say, hey, I care a lot. Hey, I'm going to say if I never win again, it doesn't matter. I think he's trying it all. I don't know if it is working, because I don't think we found the combination yet. But he is. I don't want to say desperate. Maybe he is desperate to win another one. But when you are constantly trying something new, it means you have not figured out the formula, and he is constantly trying something new.
Yeah, and it's very public. I mean, different putters, different drivers, equipment changes and strategy changes. To your point, it's strange. It was alarming to me today. Felt like a guy that was very down. We're going to take a quick break here, but quickly, before we do, I just want to give you a little breaking news. Came from Josh. Paul Casey has withdrawn. Sam Stevens, Kyle's boy, is in the PGA this week. I
saw him at the airport last night at midnight. He was getting his luggage. I didn't know he was in. He wasn't.
Did he say good luck? Yeah, I hope he said good luck.
He was on the other side of this massive Rochester airport.
Yeah.
It was actually, we were flying private, so I couldn't get over there in time.
He was your boy last week, and he hit it pretty well. So we'll see. Now, Paul Casey out, of course. That makes 16 live players in the field this week. We'll talk about some of those on the other side. Also, Jordan Spieth. But first, let's take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
One weekend in May, only the best are welcome. An invitation reserved for legendary players and future stars, challenging each other at one of the most extraordinary courses in the nation. A major moment awaits. The PGA Championship on CBS.
We're just in on this pod now. Like, we're just in.
We gotta. If you're watching on YouTube, we gotta know from producer Jacob. I knew I was going to do that at some point. I wish it hadn't been in a major preview. But producer Josh, it says, is there any way to get Rick closer to the computer?
This is the only way.
We only have one chair.
It looks like the Step Brothers portrait.
I was thinking the same exact thing.
It's not good. I mean, the alternative is we're sitting on the bed, which is not better.
Yeah, we're doing the best with what we can. Greg, you were getting us into the live golfers now, 16 of them in the field. I did not see Phil out there. I saw Dustin Johnson out there. I saw Bryson out there. I saw Brooks out there. They're getting ready to rock and roll for this week.
Brooks Koepka, of course, coming off the heels of I'm not sure if Brooks is sitting like this with anybody, by the way. Other than
maybe Rory is. Brooks isn't.
Brooks is not. He's elbowing. Rick, you're out. That's what Brooks is saying if you're Kyle.
No, Brooks. I was talking to somebody today on the course, a player, not playing in the tournament, but a player.
We might give us one more hint. We might be able to guess who it is.
Canadian Graham Gillette.
I probably should not. I should not keep.
Yeah,
keep
that was
going
very
with this,
specific.
but the Brooks thing is like, I don't know, man. Like, and I wrote this at the Masters. What is Brooks? Is he a major killer? Is he a reality TV star? Like, what is he? Patrick? What is he? What are we getting from him?
Oh man, it really, it's week to week. Some would say fraud. I would throw Brooks Koepka. He's fraudish at times. Absolutely.
Wow. Wait, you have a list? Who's on it? It's like somebody. It was somebody.
Morgan Wallen's. Morgan Wallen's number one, the country star. Taylor Montgomery's on it too.
Or
her. Taylor Gooch is on it. I think I wrote, if you can't win 3 live events in a row, you probably don't belong in the U.S. Open anyways. Yeah, those are.
Wasn't Rory on it?
Rory was close today. Actually, while many people might not like what he said, I'm kind of into it. So he's not honorary mention anymore.
I was kind of into it too. I think. He's done so much just carrying and talking and like in great ways over the last year. And it's like, yeah, like if you want to just shut all this down and just go try to win a major, you don't owe me anything. You don't owe Rick anything, you know? I'm fascinated to watch this Brooks DJ, these press conferences tomorrow. I think they're going to be interesting.
It's a fascinating ad, getting these guys into the press room. I look, Brooks has proven to be a major killer. I mean, look at his record. He's got 17 top 10s in 35 majors. It's an incredible resume. I mean, you look at his Wikipedia page and there's a lot of yellow on it, and quite a bit of green too. And the green has come in a couple U.S. Opens and a couple PGAs. And we're here at another PGA that feels very much like a Brooks Koepka type golf course.
Yeah.
Maybe Dustin Johnson won last week. Rick, are we going to get another Bethpage? Is that a realistic possibility? We get a Dustin Johnson battle?
Yeah, I think Brooks and DJ both have a pretty decent chance here. I mean, they're going to do what they need to do. They're going to drive it well. They're going to be able to move the ball out of the rough. I can tell you who I have real concerns about. Cam Smith, walked 9 holes with him. Wasn't great.
It's not his course.
He
was not sharp off the tee. I mean, the short game's still there, but it was a lot of reloading on a Tuesday practice round. This course his length is bringing all the trouble into play. And for guys like DJ, for guys like Brooks, that's not necessarily the case, and they can move it out of the rough better, which is critical.
Huge,
well, you said
advantage.
Yeah, you said this on Sunday, right? You got to cover all these bunkers, right? And if you don't, I mean, the fairway bunkers are like, it's like Troon or Carnoustie. I mean, it's a penalty stroke. You just hit it in the water, basically, right?
Are you guys seeing that? This is chip out. This is you're chipping out if you hit it into the fairway bunkers.
The front half stinks, right? Like if you're in the front half of it, they're 3 feet high at minimum, and you are just getting it back out into the fairway, just wedging it out. If you're in the back of it, it's not that bad. The way they're all shaped is they lay pretty flat. Like you basically get a lot of flat lies in these bunkers, and that can be a little bit weird around the greens because you don't also get the benefit of like an uphill lie to get it out with the ball. So, or with the green so much elevated above your head. So I think the bunkers are hazards this week, like for real hazards this week. And you can get the only place I don't mind them, if you hit into a fairway bunker on a par 5, it's probably not that big of a deal because you're laying up anyway.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't know if anybody's getting home in 2 on either of these par 5s.
Yeah, that's very curious to me. I'm interested to see how they play, especially when they're downwind. You know, we get a southern wind on a couple of days.
One day, I think, yeah.
One day, right. It's, you got Thursday, Friday. Thursday morning looks like a south wind. Friday looks southerly. Maybe it's south-southwest or south. The weekend won't be. So I'm curious to see if maybe number 4 is reachable on Thursday or Friday. That'll be interesting to see. And maybe, 13, I don't think you're going to get quite as much help from that. Maybe
13 was sick.
A little more cross.
So 13
was playing like 700 yards today.
It's crazy. And it's got a really cool sort of amphitheater green. It kind of looked like 18 at Riviera.
Really small green, but it's a bowl and there's like seating around it, like a hill around it. It's pretty cool.
So Patrick, I want to just put a bow on the live headlines here. Phil Mickelson coming off a runner-up finish. The last time he played a PGA Championship, he walked away with the Wanamaker Trophy. Where are you with Phil right now?
It's tough because Augusta National kind of brings that out in people throughout the history of the Masters. It's not totally out of the blue that an old timer kind of puts together an effort and turns back the clock. I mean, in the last 15, 20 years, we've seen Freddie Couples lead after 36. I think Tom Watson put in a little charge, 18 holes one year as well. And ever since, Phil's kind of just not done a whole lot on live golf. I don't think he played very well in Australia or Singapore or last week in Tulsa. So the people of New York typically love Phil Mickelson. Maybe that could provide him a spark. This week, I wouldn't know. I don't know if Rick's behind a tree yelling at him or whatnot. But I mean, we've seen his history at Bethpage. He has a T2 at that U.S. Open when Lucas Glover won. Wingfoot as well, obviously. So I don't know. Would I be surprised if he made the cut? No. But would I be surprised if he is within 5 strokes of the lead come Sunday? Yeah, I would, just because his game, and like they said, he is Cam Smith-ish. You think about Phil Mickelson, right? He's wild off the tee. He relies heavily on the short game and that magic. And if Cam Smith's struggling out there, who's a much better player than Phil Mickelson at the moment, I imagine Phil Mickelson will have some struggles as well.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing about Phil in his career, because I wouldn't think a winged foot or a Bethpage would suit his game really at any point. And he has great success there. I wouldn't think the U.S. Open in general would fit Phil's game, yet he has 6 runner-up finishes there. So he's definitely going to be a very curious story heading into this week. Just a couple more storylines here before we get to some of the fun stuff. We have I always think this is the biggest storyline whenever you have somebody going for a career Grand Slam. It's the top storyline of the week in a major championship. It's such a rare feat in the game. And now Jordan Spieth's making his 7th attempt at a career Grand Slam this week, but we have some injury. So KP and Rick, did you guys get a chance to see Jordan Spieth this week after withdrawing from the Byron Nelson last week?
I think I saw this photo. I saw him walking around with the heavy wrist tape. I don't know what that is up his forearm.
He's got to withdraw just because of this shirt.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Shirt, WD.
I only saw him hit some chips. I think he did play some holes. He bailed out a little bit early. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
So the story that I got is he played 1 hole, but he didn't leave because he was hurt. He left because and this was true. Like, everything was backed up all day because of they actually were out there watering a lot of the dust and dirt because it was so windy here, and so you had a bunch of backups. Practice runs were slow, so I don't think he was leaving because of his wrist.
I'll give you a little side note. I heard from a player today who's in the tournament. Time par is 4:40, and they laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. So yeah, maybe add an hour to that, 5:40 to get around this place.
It's gonna be brutal.
So we're gonna have over par in time. We'll probably I think we're gonna end up under par for the scoreboard. Time par may be a different story, but I mean, what's the overall? Where are we with Jordan Spieth? I feel like we haven't gotten any real answers. Is this a big concern? If he is healthy and he's fine, which every report that I heard today was he looks fine, but he also didn't really play from the rough very much. if he plays and is healthy, is this the kind of golf course that Jordan Spieth can compete on?
Oof.
That's a lot. That was a lot. There's a load.
Yeah.
Because if he's healthy, is this a good course for him?
Well,
right. That's the question.
So I think what's interesting, I was talking to somebody today, and they said that this was not a player who's not in the tournament. I didn't even say what that person said, so it doesn't matter. But I was talking to somebody today. They kind of insinuated that the injury was not acute to Quail Hollow. It was kind of been something that's been a little bit ongoing. So that actually, I think, encouraged me a little bit of like, he's kind of been playing with something. I don't know that it was this severe, but there's been, I mean, he almost won RBC Heritage, right? Like with something. I don't know what the specific diagnosis is, but the other part of that question, can he win just with being completely healthy at Oak Hill? I mean, he finished T3 at Bethpage that year?
Yes.
Yeah, when he couldn't hit water out of a boat.
Dude, I followed that. I've told this story, but I followed him and Koepka. They were in the final pairing on Saturday. I've never seen somebody miss the center of the club face more than Jordan Spieth on that Saturday, third round. And he still finished I mean, that was like one of the great putting performances probably of his life, and he got a T3 out of it. So I don't know. I don't really think so, but I do think he's going to play, and I think he's going to make the cut and all that. I don't think this is a Spieth slam PGA.
There are also a couple spots out there where if you're in the chocolate drops, that is not a place I would want to be going with any wrist injuries because they're very, very awkward. I watched Shane Lowry try to hack it out. Like it's very bad for the appendages. So
those are Rick, like the moguls that they play.
Yeah, correct. They're like on the left side of 10. You see them. Yeah, their moguls are basically like hills, or they're actually they're rocks underneath there. But yeah, you'll see them out there.
Yeah.
I think for Spieth, what would you guys think if he just went in completely blind? Just Greller walked the golf course. He doesn't know where, a lot of the trouble is. He's kind of out of it. I think it could work. Imagine the storylines.
It would be sick.
It would be sick. Greller wins first major championship.
It's entertaining to think about. I didn't think we were going to get here, but since you bring it up, Patrick, you've been pretty vocal about another player-caddy relationship, and it happens to be our defending champion, Justin Thomas, and Bones Mackay. Now, JT has played some pretty steady golf this year. Maybe not up to the standards we expect from JT. But do we feel like Wells Fargo meant something a little more? Was that a step in the right direction? JT's best major record is here at the PGA, obviously with 2 wins. Good spot for JT.
He certainly thinks Wells Fargo was a step in the right direction, and I kind of agree with him. I think he implemented aim point, obviously, started putt a little bit better, saw some of his scoring was better, he thought. But if you look at his season as a whole, he said he was kind of in a bit of a slump, and he is technically. I mean, it'd be his third worst from a strokes gained perspective, second in strokes gained approach, and it'd be his first one without a win since his rookie season if it ended today. But at the same time, he's only 20 starts removed from the PGA Championship. He's finished inside the top 5, 4 of those inside the top 25, I think, in 12. So it is really all relative. And for Justin Thomas, he's very much win or go home type of guy when he's thinking big picture. And this is what I kind of wrote about him today is he needs to use that macro perspective on the golf course because he thinks through every single scenario, which way on an easy gap wedge from $120, when in reality, if he just, all right, let's throw it out there 15 feet out to the right, maybe a nice little draw on it, see what happens. That's really how he has to play. And I think the PGA sets up perfectly because it kind of forces you with this new setup over the last 5 years or so, where the winning score is anywhere between, like 4 to 10 under. I think that's Justin Thomas's bread and butter zone where it forces him to play cautiously and patient and steady and have a lot of discipline. But at certain moments, he can display all the tools he has, whether it was the 17th at Quail Hollow when he had a 7-iron, he kind of hit a rope hook in there, or the 17th last year in the playoff with that fairway medal. So I think Justin Thomas is pretty close, and I wouldn't be surprised if he played well this week. He played well at Winged Foot that opening round. He was the first-round leader in 2020. Kind of fell off the pace, obviously, but I expect Justin Thomas to, be within a handful entering the weekend, and whatever happens, happens.
There's a lot of concerns, in my opinion, on JT, but some good stuff too. So we'll see if he makes it to anybody's betting card this week. Hopefully Kyle and Rick got something was dying, either the computer, or maybe it was the Wi-Fi that we're relying on.
The phone was dying. Well, my phone is being used as the hotspot. We are really just desperate right now, and so we're trying to keep everything. We're juggling a lot of balls right now.
All right. Well, we're gonna try to move through this a little bit, so you guys can get your stuff together, okay? Because this is
also
outrageous.
This chair is not. It's not built for this. The chair is not wide enough.
Yeah, we got to request a bench from the front desk.
Yeah,
I think that would be much better suited.
Bring in a cot or something.
Yeah. I have no idea what I have said on this show. I just no clue.
All right. Well, we're going to get to the fun stuff now. So hopefully you memorized your betting card for the week and know the guys that you want. But this is a kind of a unique week because we have the PGA fantasy games. We have all made some teams and created team names. There's a link. It should be in the description. Josh can confirm that. But there's a first cut PGA fantasy game that you can get into. And we want to make your picks, and we want you to get involved. So we got a little read here, which is, I know, the smoothest transition possible, but you can experience the PGA Championship like never before with the PGA Championship fantasy game. Create a league with friends or sign up on your own to compete for prize packs of official PGA Championship merchandise and gear. Register today, like I did, at pgachampionship.com/fantasy or through the official PGA Championship app. Make sure you join the first cut thing. So again, like I said, it's in the description. We all have rosters here. And basically the way this game works is you pick a past PGA champion, somebody over the age of 30, somebody under the age of 30, and a Corebridge Financial PGA team member. So let's take a look at some of these teams here.
Yeah. And Greg, I will say, we talked about this a little bit on Monday. This is good to get into this stuff, especially for my world where the PGA Tour, golf in general, has been very conservative. They have not necessarily leaned into fantasy and betting as much as I would like. So for the PGA Championship to have on their front page, hey, you can play fantasy now, and you choose a past champion, a guy over the age of 30, under 30, and somebody from the Club Pros, the Corebridge Financial PGA. This is music to my heart here. So I do implore people to join the group and compete with us because I want this to continue to happen year in and year out.
I thought you didn't listen to music.
What do you think I listen to? Oh, music to my heart? Yeah. It's usually just silence.
Okay. So silence to your heart.
Yeah, silence to my heart. Which I enjoy.
This kind of reminds me of something like Kyle and his family do every major with a draft, right? You get involved, and it adds to the win experience.
Yeah, we need to get that. We need to get that sponsored first of all, and
you should.
Second of all,
the Corebridge Porter draft.
We need to pull that up at the end so you guys can evaluate the teams. But did you guys have team names here?
Yes. I'll start with mine. It said here as I was reading this.
You don't need any caveats. Just tell us the name.
No, I need a caveat here. It says, try to make, some entertaining. It says, P.S. Name your bracket something entertaining. And so I didn't put any thought into it. I just typed in Isofire 7-Eleven. So that's my name.
I knew it. I will update mine to my fantasy team name, which is the Vegas Straight Flushers. Get it? Straight flush. Straight flush in the ball.
Is that a live team name as well, or
it should be?
I am old Greller.
Kyle.
That's a good one.
That is very good.
Mine was just
Old
my
Reller.
my Twitter name, but I'll change it to Lord Fraud Quad.
Lord.
Yours should be the eye test.
It could be that as well. We'll whiteboard it here.
Yeah. All right. We'll come up with some fun names, but you should get involved too. So let's get to some of these teams here. Rick, we'll start with you. Let's do it the way we usually do our bets, our betting board. So we'll pick our PGA past champions here.
Good.
Rick, who'd you go with? Past PGA champion.
So listen, Rory's obviously in here. Justin Thomas is obviously in here. There's some pretty good options. I tried to be. This is where I would most want to differentiate because there's not that many of them, and a lot of them are older guys. So I think there's only a handful of really competitive past champions. So I wanted to differentiate a little bit here. So I am going with the accuracy off the tee, good enough short game, elite iron play option in Colin Morikawa. This was, if it was just a heads up and it was Rory versus Colin for $100, I'd probably just take Rory. But I think in a situation where we're in a league, I wanted to be a little bit different. I thought this was the best place to do it. I took Colin.
Patrick, didn't seem like you had the same thought process. Yeah, you went with Rory McIlroy.
The thought process was actually the exact same, where I thought no one would want to touch Rory with a 10-foot pole.
You were right.
So I picked him.
Fascinating. I can't wait to see what Rory does because I am worried. My instinct is worried, but is this what's going to work? I don't know. Kyle, you went with somebody who won last week. It's a violation of the rule, but my rule hasn't paid out so well.
I think I'm surprised that more people haven't been on Jason Day this week. He's been probably the third best player in the world, and I've got him in some other bets later on, but he's been awesome this year, and it's a course that should fit him pretty decently. So I went with him as my past PGA champion.
I went with Brooks Koepka. I feel like there's something with him and the major killers. I think he's still very much in that, and I think this golf course, with my concerns on Rory, I think his style fits better than anybody else in the category. So we will move on to over the age of 30. And
Greg, real quick, what are your Rory concerns? Is it emotional? Is it physical? Is it swing?
I feel like Rory McIlroy is not looking at this as the second major of the year that he's building up for. I mean, this to me, I said maybe on one of the other episodes we did that it felt like, opening day, like the beginning of a new season, but without the hope. And I was having a conversation earlier today about this, and maybe I got to edit that it feels like almost like OTAs to me. Like this is as far away from the next Masters as he can be. And he's trying to figure out what the recipe is, but I don't think he's fully geared up for a PGA. That's the sense that I get. And that's my biggest concern. So I hope that answers your question. Go to over the age of 30.
Thank you for answering my question. This chair is a nightmare. It's so small.
I kind of like it. I'm getting comfortable.
Yeah, because I'm not on it anymore. I've got one. Yeah. Carry on.
It looks like it. It looks like it. We see half your face, and the chair's only seeing half of you as well. All right, over the age of 30. We'll start with me. We'll do this snake draft style. I went with Tony Finau, another big hitter, playing great with his irons all year, leading the PGA Tour in that category. I think his driving at both Quail Hollow and Mexico was much better than it was earlier in the year. So I like Tony Finau. Kyle, you don't share the same concerns as me. That's probably why you just asked me the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of Rory right now because he doesn't have any momentum. I think that's clear, right? But I sort of agree with Patrick of like he's done the jovial. I mean, he's done everything, right? But he's done the jovial, like gives great answers, everybody. It's just like his press conferences are just almost like a celebration between media and player. And then he, last year he was great at all the majors and he was doing that. So I don't know. I don't know that there's like one thing that he needs to do differently, but I sort of like it wasn't chippy, but for him it was, right? He's so jovial and so amenable that anything that's not that comes off as like, oh, okay. I didn't dislike that. And I think that the course, I just can't get over how perfectly the course is for him to win it. And I should be able to get over that, but if there is a course made for him, it is this one. And that doesn't mean he's going to win or even make the cut, but I am banking on that as he heads into the week.
Okay. The strong take. We'll move up to Patrick. Patrick, you picked your over 30 player. My best guess is based on first name.
I'm wondering how the hell you change your name on this thing. I don't know if you can. My pick over 30 was Patrick Cantlay. Correct. Off my first name. I just think he's going to win the golf tournament this week. So he's driving the ball extremely well, extremely accurate and long. And the bent grass greens is going to heat up the putter. And he's going to be the most popular major champion in potentially the last decade.
Wow. The most popular. Fascinating.
The most popular.
All right. He has looked great, and he has a great record on bent grass greens. So I certainly understand it. Rick, I think you made the right decision here. Tell me why I got it right as well.
Yeah, Tony Finau. First off, how much older than 30 is he?
33.
He's 34. 33.
Yeah. Well,
he's younger than Rory.
That's weird.
Wow. That is
weird.
He has the things I want. Unlimited power. He has been one of the best approach players in the world in the last 6 months. His short game is way better. Since the last time he played a PGA Championship, he's won 4 different times. So we can basically put the whole doesn't win thing to bed. Great setup for Tony. Would break through to get his first major championship victory. I don't need him to necessarily win. I just need him to play well. And he's got a ton of history at finishing on the first page of the leaderboard at major championships. This is to me a no-brainer that Finau finishes like top 8 in some way.
Yeah, I like that.
Are we concerned about Finau's most recent major history? 10 top 10s in his first 20, 0 in his last 7. Thoughts?
No.
Okay.
Not concerned.
I'm not concerned about it either. Rick, another player with 10 major championship top 10s is your under the age of 30 selection.
Yeah. So what I've done here is I've built a team kind of different sets, right? I think Finau is the guy that makes most sense. It's the bomber side of things. It's all that. Colin is like, okay, maybe if this skews a bit more accurate than long, I've got that. And then Xander is just the well-rounded guy. Doesn't do anything amazing, does everything great. That works really well at majors when par is a good score. He's playing well coming in. It's like 5 straight top 5 finishes or top 10 finishes. This golf course is going to ask you a lot of different questions, and Xander mostly has all of those answers. Like, very rare to play himself out of a major championship. So again, just the well-rounded nature of his game is very exciting.
He has looked just phenomenal in the recent months. So I understand that selection. Patrick, yours, I imagine, is going to get some attention in the chat. It's the same pick as mine. You must have just stuck your nose into the data here. How'd you come up with world number 2, Scotty Scheffler?
Greg, when you live in my brain, you have so many takes flying around that you kind of forget about half of them. And this is one I wish I could take back. Not necessarily the take.
The take or the pick?
This selection. Seeing no John Rahm.
Oh, the selection.
But
he's sticking with the take.
I did a blind test. I was just looking at numbers. And numbers, you can kind of skew them any which way. And I guess I got a bad data sheet or whatever it may be. But Scotty Scheffler's apparently gaining over like 3 strokes per round on the field. So I picked him. By the numbers, he was probably the most impressive player under the age of 30.
So he fails the eye test and the data test?
No, I was doing a blind selection, and so that's why. So he passes numbers, but
I like that he also has
test.
just the data boys who might be skewing the data in Scotty's favor.
There's a lot.
No, really, Patrick. This should create some introspection about your other take. It's what should happen. It's not going to, but it should.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot to think about here. This weekend is huge in the McDonald household.
I also saw your absolute panic one and done pick. Like the house is on fire. Patrick's running around. The alarms are going off.
It's 4:59.
I was telling Josh this. We are down 21 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And
Deion Waiters just went in the game.
I was talking football, and we're going for it on 4th and 20 when we could kick a field goal. We're going for it. Could change the whole game, whole season this week.
Well, it could, yeah, not in the way you're probably hoping, but.
So it's Scotty Scheffler for Patrick. It's Scotty Scheffler for me as well. Kyle, bring some sense back to this for the first time.
Victor Hovland's first 2 top 10s at majors have been in the last 2 majors, the Open and the Masters. He's been really good recently in major championships. He's started well at PGAs in the past. And again, this is a course that seems to play into his hands. I do worry the short game obviously is always a concern, and this is a place where you don't want to. I mean, I think the solve for him, you can putt it around a lot of these greens, right? Like you can kind of save yourself from having to hit some dicey chips by using the putter. So I hope he goes with that. I think he could make some noise. Yeah, I'm excited about him this week.
Yeah, if it's a ball striker's golf course, he is definitely going to be a part of the story. Now, we got to get over to one last column here. It's the Corebridge Financial PGA team, and we have a lone wolf. I am a lone wolf. So I'll start with you guys. Everybody here went with Wyatt Worthington the second. Maybe you want to each give a quick take and a reason why. Rick, I mean, he's your boy. Let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty biased in this situation. I work with Wyatt. He's great. I watched 18 with him today. Listen, he's got all the skills. He's, no offense to any of the club pros, but I think that Wyatt's aspirations are tour professional, and he plays like it. I mean, he's got the ball speed of a lot of these guys. He made one mistake out there on Tuesday, his second shot into 6. The rest of it was pretty flawless, and he was out there in similar spots as Dean Burmeister and like Cam Smith and Billy Horschel and these other guys, right? It was very much fit in. So I'm obviously very biased in this situation, but I think it's him or the guy from the Philadelphia region. I think his last name's Shattuck. I think it's Braden Shattuck. He won the PGA, the Club Pro in New Mexico, and that dude's a flusher. So like that's my short list, and I obviously went with my guy.
Mean Dean's in the field?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Wow.
KP, what do you think about Wyatt?
Well, I just picked him because he's Rick's boy. I haven't seen him play.
I appreciate the support.
Yeah. He was the only name in there that I knew.
And
Patrick, same for you.
For me, when I'm looking to round out my Corebridge Financial PGA team, I looked at the returns from Rick and Kyle and their portfolios, and I wanted some of the same. So I went with Wyatt Worthington II. It's a trustworthy name.
Does he pass the eye test?
I've not seen him yet. But that's
it's
a great name. Draw. It's a great name. The name passes the test.
Worthington.
Yeah.
He's
there
a
we
good
go.
guy too. All right. I went with
a great name.
The head professional at Seminole Golf Club down in Florida, Matt Cahill.
Yeah, insider trading.
I know Matt Cahill.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
We bowled one time.
When we all worked in Florida, we had this bowling league. It was called The League, and he was a phenomenal bowler. And he's a phenomenal golfer as well. He can work the ball both ways on the lanes and on the golf course. It's some just phenomenal stuff. And he really had a great professional national championship too. A couple of really big numbers cost him a chance to stay with Braden. And I love the form that he's in, and he seems confident. And I think he's going to give this one a run for its money. So that's all we have with our 2023 PGA Championship fantasy teams. I hope you can join in, come up with some creative screen names. We'll keep you up to date on all the activity there. But we got to get to a break, and then on the other side, we'll discuss all of our best bets. Hopefully, some of them are, they catch your eye a little bit. I see some interesting ones on the board. We'll get to that after a quick word from our partners.
Two teams in control of their own destiny.
Miraculously, impossibly, beyond their dreams, their expectations.
It's the penultimate round of the UEFA Champions League on CBS and streaming live on Paramount Plus.
And we're back. All right, time to get to some of the best bets here. It's time to put our money where our mouth is. And I think we had a pretty good week last week. Kyle and I outlined it. We're working back towards the green. Things are starting to look up for us here. And boys, this is a big week. So I hope you put all your effort into it and made the right pick here. Let's start with the matchups. Rick, we'll start with yours. Which matchup did you
look? The hotel boys both found a Wyndham Clark matchup.
Not staying at a Wyndham hotel.
No, we're not. I went with Wyndham over Adam Scott -120. It is just, listen, if you've been riding this Wyndham Clark last 4 months when she's turned into an elite player, there's no reason to stop now because it's a pretty good spot for him. He's long off the tee. He's great on the second shot, savvy in the short game. Like, there's no reason to stop if you've been doing this. I've been doing it. I went with that. I went with him over Adam Scott.
I went with him over Sam Burns. Wyndham Clark's really, really long off the tee, which I love here. He's been playing really – Quail Hollow, I don't know if that's a good comp, but you got to be like a really good driver to win there. And he hasn't performed at majors, which is something I don't love, but neither has Sam Burns. So I kind of like that matchup right there for Wyndham.
It makes sense to me. Patrick, you went with somebody in a matchup. Actually, both guys in this matchup have performed quite well in majors before. Who'd you find on the board?
Yeah, we got the reigning U.S. Open champion, Matt Fitzpatrick, -110 over the champion golfer of the year. I talked to someone who was at the course today, not in the field. His name was Rick. He said Cameron Smith was all over the place. He's
not a player, but he was at the course.
For a second, honestly, my head was out of the gutter. I didn't have my coffee this morning. Rick was posting pictures. I was like, is he playing in the Pro-Am? Like, what's going on? But I picked Matt Fitzpatrick -110. Outside of the neck injury phase of his life, he's been really good this year. He won in this part of the country last year. He was, in the mix at the PGA Championship last year as well. And I love it when the score is -6 to win, something like that. So give me him -110 over Cam Smith.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite, non-bomber in this field. I think he may have a chance to keep up with these guys. But I went with the bomber. And that bomber is Gary Woodland, who has been absolutely striping it over the last couple of months. It has cost us, if you're in the fantasy community, some of our betting cards, some of our one and done plays have been on Gary Woodland in recent weeks because of that ball striking. I think this is the week it prevails. And I have him over Shane Lowry. The putting concerns are real. They are very real. But I think this is a week where he can get away with a little more and maybe quite possibly could even find it. So I like Gary Woodland +110 over Shane Lowry. And I have Gary Woodland again in the finishing position. So for many of those same reasons, I like Gary Woodland for a top 30. I think both of those will hit. And hopefully Shane Lowry can be a little scary to go against, but I think both of those hit. I really like Gary this week. And so I doubled down on him. Kyle, you also doubled down on Jason Day, and you got him for your finishing position this week.
Yeah, Jason Day, top 20. He's been, again, third best player in the world, probably, maybe fourth best so far in 2023. And somebody in that class of players should not be plus money to finish in the top 20. So that's what I like him to do at Oak Hill.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense. He's playing great golf. And Patrick, you're hoping that one Ricky Fowler can kind of follow in Jason Day's footsteps with a little resurgence here. You got him in your finishing position.
I do. Top 20 plus 2.
He's got him all over the place.
Kyle, no spoilers. But look, little inside baseball for you, Greg, in your finishing position, top 30. Gary Woodland's kind of owed a little bit from Brooks Koepka at the Masters. They're paired together first 2 days. So I really like that. So there might be some good karma coming Gary's way in those first 2 rounds specifically. But I'm with Ricky Fowler, plus 275, top 20. I've run the numbers. I've looked at many players, and he just passes all the tests. Data.
Eye test?
Oh, yeah. You literally cannot look onto the landscape of Oak Hill come Sunday and not see Ricky Fowler in that Oklahoma State orange. So top 20, if he's there on Sunday, plus 275.
Rick, your finishing position pick may be surprising to a lot of people. It's actually shocking to me.
Hear me out. So it's Bryson DeChambeau to finish inside the top 20, and nearly 4-1, by the way, plus 360, which he, first off, physically looks a lot better now. He is fit. He is in shape. He looks happy. He is rocking and rolling. He is coming off his best live finish basically ever after going through a year's worth of a slump. And if this golf course is remotely close to Winged Foot, where club head speed and the ability to accurately judge the way the ball comes out, which is honestly, that's been the biggest issue, is like these guys just can't judge how it's going to come out. It's almost not even how thick it is. It's just like sometimes it comes out dead, sometimes it doesn't. Then Bryson's large advantage might be good enough to get him on the first 2 pages of the leaderboard. I think that if there is ever a time to try to be early on Bryson, it is now. And it's kind of like a get in, get out situation. This is not a buy and hold. This is a pump and dump. Like we're day trading Bryson. We're giving him one crack at this, and then we can go back and not worry. If this doesn't go well, we don't have to worry about it for like a year.
Rick got this tip on Reddit.
He must have.
My boys over at Wall Street Bets.
Yeah. Bold play, but I see the strategy. I see the number. He's skinned down a little bit, so we'll see how it plays out. All right, let's get over to the outrights here. Rick, you got 2 outrights. You talked about them both. I think only one of them was in your PGA fantasy team. But you got Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, the Chef and the Schaff. I didn't want to make a card without Scheffler. I believe, like I'll plant my flag. Like of the big 3, I think this is Scheffler's. I just didn't want to leave him out. This could have been Finau. It could have been a couple of other guys. It could have been Victor. So I went with Scotty. Didn't want to leave him. And then Xander, we already talked about. I think he's ready. I think it's time. I think the game translates well to all major championships. It translates well here. I'm rocking with the crew.
Yeah, I like.
I'm sorry.
Kyle saw one photo of Phil Mickelson and cannot hold it together.
Have you seen this photo? Have you seen this?
Is it from the Champions Dinner?
Yeah, he's in it.
Hold it up.
I have not.
Okay, we're gonna be able to see this. Put us on solo us.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
What's that say? Is that a Chick-fil-A sandwich?
It says recovery gummies.
Oh my god.
Wow. I'm not sure what else to say.
That's incredible. I can't stop laughing.
He looks so thin.
Yeah, he does.
All right, Josh, let's get the chart back up here. We're trying to restore a little bit of order.
Yeah, good luck.
Patrick, Rick thinks that it's Xander's week for this to come together. It seems like these 2 guys come up every single major.
How not unfollow me?
We can hear you, Kyle.
Sorry.
Your mic is hot. Patrick, you're going with a little different direction here. We know you love Ricky Fowler. You got him on the card to win, and also Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah, Ricky Fowler, 70-1. I understand Rick believing Xander Schauffele's going to win. We've been thinking this for the past 5 years. I certainly got suckered into it at the Masters, but someone who no one thinks can ever win a major championship, Patrick Cantlay, quietly 3 straight top 15 finishes, penultimate group at the Masters, T3 at that Bethpage as well, PGA in 2019. If not Ricky, it's Cantlay.
All right. Hey, I get it. And I've fallen into the trap with Patrick Cantlay many times before. I've been hurt before. I understand where you're coming from. KP, couple of popular picks, I would say. Definitely some eye test passing picks. You got Jon Rahm and Cam Young.
Yeah, Jon Rahm and Cam Young. Jon Rahm's obvious. He's going to win the tournament, maybe by 5. But Cam Young, this was hard, right? Because going back to 2003, Sean McKeel won his first PGA Tour event I think it was his only PGA Tour event at Oak Hill. So we've seen this happen before. Cam Young's never won a PGA Tour event, obviously, but again, his game is like so good for this golf course, and he's got 3 top 10s in his last 4 major starts. So 30-1. I don't love the beard shaving. He looked like
desperate, man.
I didn't even recognize him, but I do like the 30-1 for Cam Young this week.
He looked better than DJ. I liked your tweet on that too. That was a good pull. Really good pull. All right, I went with Scotty Scheffler. Like Rick, I didn't want to leave him off the card. I was looking through some of his numbers on rickrungood.com, and last 50 rounds, what's just amazing to me is how accurate he is. For a guy that's averaging 308 off the tee in that span, he's hitting 67% of his fairways. So, Rick had his strategy of hedging in the fantasy team with Morikawa if it skews accuracy, and getting Finau in there if it skews to the Bombers. I think Scotty Scheffler checks both those boxes too. And Rahm probably does too, but Scheffler's ball striking to me is going to be the difference maker this week. So I love what he's doing. And Tony Finau, again, fits the mold. And I think he's ready to step up to the plate here for a big major. So it's really good stuff. Now let's move on to our best bets. Now this is an area we really need a little bit of help with. We really got to get moving. We need some wins. We need some momentum so we can get ourselves back up here into the black.
Do we have to show the results every time?
Yeah, look, this is transparency, right? We got to be transparent. Yeah. But look, I think we're. Yeah, producer Jacob does. So producer Josh does too. All right, Rick, I love this play.
Yes,
for you
Thank
here.
You.
Gary.
Gary Woodland. Gary Woodland top 40 plus 110. Plus money on Gary Woodland to finish inside the top 40. We've kind of already alluded to this. He has been a phenomenal ball striker. He is long enough. He is strong enough. He has won a major champion. The huge question mark is the putter. He might lose 7 strokes putting on these greens. Like, that is a possible outcome. If he loses like 2 with the putter, he finishes inside the top 40. If he gains like 1, he wins the golf tournament. So I am such a sucker of Team No Putt that I could not have Gary Woodland on my card.
I think at Bethpage he finished tied 8th and lost like 4 strokes putting.
Yeah, that's a very possible outcome again this week.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, Patrick. Rick is day trading up on this. You're kind of day trading on the down.
Shorting.
Bryson.
You're
shorting. That's right. That's the term. You're shorting Bryson this week.
If Rick is the day traders on Reddit shorting these stocks because big finance like myself, the hedge funds are shorting them, it might not turn out well for me in the short run, but long run, the financial institution, well, not lately, but financial institutions typically win. So
I love that you're the financial institution, but your Twitter handle is also amateur status.
Yeah, you're real Berkshire Hathaway.
Multifaceted.
contains worlds.
Well, I'm a conglomerate. I'm like CJ. You don't really know what they do, but they're everywhere.
Like Salinas.
You're like Stuart Hagestad.
I'll take it.
Like might be an amateur, but dabbles professionally.
But long story short, Bryson DeChambeau plus money, plus 110 to miss the cut. Give it to me. Shorting that all day, son.
KP, you're hammering the Jason Day bandwagon.
I think it's a triple down now.
Yeah, I tripled down. Top 20 plus money. He's the third best player in the world this year, and he's coming off a win. Is he going to win two weeks in a row? Probably not, but I love him to finish in the top 10, top 20.
It makes a lot of sense, and I hope he does. You need him to now at this point because you have put a lot of your eggs in that basket. So I hope it pays off, and there's good evidence to support it. There's a lot of congruency here with all of our selections. I'm going Ricky Fowler. I agree with Patrick. He passes the eye test. Ricky's. I felt very good about him with the top 30, especially at plus money, plus 150 for a top 30 on Ricky Fowler. I think that's a step in the right direction. And I don't know if I can get all the way back to the black like Berkshire Hathaway in this 1 week. But I think we're making a step in the right direction. So I like it. I think we only have one more thing to get done here, and that would be our one and done selections.
Wow.
Is that it? Is that all we got left? Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. We always start from the bottom. So that is me. It has been all year.
We started at the bottom.
And we're still at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Brooks Koepka. Again, I think he fits the style of the golf course. I think there's a very good chance he can move. And look, I'm running out of ammunition too. And I'm running out of opportunities to go with Brooks. Patrick, wow. Ricky again.
Yeah, this is my Core Bridge Financial Play of the Year. Ricky Fowler, one and done, 3-point multiple millions on the line. I knew no one was going to have him because who would? But
shocker.
It's time. All the handshakes, all the hugs, all the kisses on the 18th, 72nd hole. They come back tenfold this week.
Who did he kiss?
Fowler and the Wanamaker. He was, I don't know, kissing babies. He was probably signing autographs when guys were winning for all we know. So Ricky Fowler, one and done. 0% owned outside me.
Okay. Well, see ya. The fans, Kyle M, join me. Could be unfortunate for them. They joined me on the Brooks Koepka bandwagon. Kyle Porter, however, did not. KP, Tony Finau for you.
Yeah, Big Tone. I didn't think anybody was going to pick him.
You haven't used him.
I hope not. I don't think I have.
I would absolutely confirm that, Josh.
Well, Josh confirms for some people. So if he didn't for me, then that's says a lot about our relationship. But yeah, good spot for him. He finished. I think he was top 10 at the. I control F'd it, so I think we're good. I think he was top 10 at the 2020 U.S. Open, and yeah, I think he's been playing great. I mean, if Jason Day has been the third or fourth best player in the world, I think you could argue that Finau's been in the top 5 this year also. I don't love the no top 10s at his last 7 majors, Patrick. That was one thing that I was sort of hung up on, but I do love being lone wolf with a top 10 player at a major championship.
It's a good position to be in.
Do we know the purse set? Have they announced the purse yet?
No, they haven't.
Probably 18 or 20.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good guess.
Last year and probably go up.
Right up there.
That's one of the PGA's flexes is they have like a bigger purse than the
right. But they can't go to 25 because that would be the players.
Yeah.
So it'll be like
and live Tulsa.
Obviously.
Okay. Speaking of Live Tulsa, the champion of Live Tulsa.
Wow, what a segue.
Dustin Johnson has been elected. Rick, you went DJ. Is this the same strategy as Masters?
Yeah, so I think especially in our format and a lot of one and done formats, it's too valuable to not use a live guy, or it's too valuable to use a live guy, I guess is a better way to say it, because you're just getting these guys that are only eligible 4 times a year. They're coming in and they're in the top 6 or 8 of the betting odds, and you still get to save all those. It's almost like you kind of have to in some situations. I intended to use Brooks, right? Like I opened up the spreadsheet to fire away at Brooks. I knew that Mark was going to use Cam Young. He foreshadowed that on a podcast a week or 2 ago when I got it out of him. So I knew he was using Cam Young. I was going to use Brooks. I already used Brooks at the Masters. So I went, okay, crap. Who else am I going to use here? DJ, the next logical guy, has all the skills for Oak Hill and is coming off the win last week on Live. So DJ's my boy.
And look, Brooks was coming off a win at the Masters as well. And it worked out pretty nicely for you there. So
I'll take a T2 right now.
Yeah, I think that's a logical selection. The strategy has worked before, and that means, of course, it's going to work again. Our leader, Mark Immelman, has Cam Young, like you said, Rick. Boys, how do we feel about this?
I love it. It's a great pick. I've already used him, or I would have taken him. Great spot, great major player. I love the pick. You might put it away this week.
I was very suspect. I wasn't quite sure. I get all the reasons to love him, but I did that at Wells Fargo, and it didn't work out. So I had my questions. But now that Mark has him in one and done, it's pretty much a surefire thing. And I probably should have looked at this before I filled out my whole betting card, because I think Cam Young probably belongs in there. So a lot of good stuff. But boys, we'll see how all this plays out. It's going to be a great tournament. I think we have a really good handle on it, and I hope we're right. It definitely seems like we're looking distance, and a little bit of more distance when it comes to Oak Hill. So hopefully that plays out. Otherwise, we're going to be in the red big time this week. Boys, before we head out, I want to let you know we got round by round recaps Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm not sure if we'll be on the bench at the hotel room. If we'll be,
I hope not.
No, I think we're
going to be on
do
site.
it. You know what? We had a meeting and I still don't know. I think we might be on site.
Who can say?
Okay. Well, either way, we'll figure something out. This setup wasn't too bad. You guys did great. There it is. Nighthawk and Dragon.
This is not good. This is not good.
I don't mind it.
We look so
I'm
serious.
enjoying it. I think we should record another one after.
Greg, great job in the head chair, by the way. Great job.
Yes, Greg. Well done.
Major call up. And
I'm no Rick.
And I just want to say one last thank you to the Corebridge Financial.
We'll clip this and send it to him.
Yeah.
Oh, pull up my family picks, producer Jacob. That was on purpose.
This is basically it. So
he's got him. Here we go. Okay.
All
so
right.
So it's a snake draft. So Hannah had first pick. She took Rahm. Then
Smart.
Jack, who is a lover of chaos, took Tom Kim with the second
Wow.
pick.
That's a reach.
He's a chaos agent.
What does the next one say? Scheffler or Schauffele?
Scheffler and Schauffele.
Oh, he's got them both.
Scheffler and Schauffele. What? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sadie got Rory with the 4th overall pick. Your
Yeah.
family is chaotic.
Tom
You took
Kim went number
Cantlay.
2 overall.
Yeah. Jen
took Colin.
Yeah.
And then it snakes back around.
Snakes back. So she said Colin and then Burns, and I got Day in the second round, and then I got Brooks in the third round.
Yeah, that's good.
Wow.
Value. Jude's team of Scheffler, Schauffele, Hovland in the third, Hideki and Spieth
in the fifth. Well, he might not play.
Yeah, that's the one worry.
Did Sadie pick Phil for the Masters too?
Is it play 4, drop 1?
So she's the Phil whisperer. Okay.
She loves Phil. Yeah, it's one of the few names she can say or that she knows.
Rahm Finau, Sungjae, Fleetwood, Neiman's.
That's Hannah.
Too.
Yeah,
Hannah's got a good team.
Jack is just lost. I mean, he's got Tom Kim. He's got Ricky. He's got the all Instagram team here.
What does that say?
JT, Fitz, and Connors?
Wyndham Clark.
Oh, Clark. Okay. I think the winner is Jude. Scheffler, Schauffele, Hovland, Hideki, Spieth. That is very good. Although Sadie's got Rory, Max, Hatton, Cam, and
Phil.
I'm putting my money on Hannah.
Okay.
I like Jude's team. I say Connors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not Kyle's team.
Oh, come on.
No, that's a good team.
Yeah, what happens to Jen's case?
You got Wyndham Clark down there. I like it.
We'll replace. Yeah, Wyndham Clark 5th round. I think all my guys in the top 10 on data golf except for Brooks.
And that's because of crooked data golf.
I think
sorry. I'm just used to I got the talking points.
Corrupt data golf.
I'm between Kyle and Jude.
Okay.
I think Kyle's team is probably more reliable given the Spieth situation.
Yeah, but I mean, Kyle has a data golf subscription. You got to give your kids those, level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah. Do they have your password?
They don't. No, they don't deserve that yet. They got to earn it.
That's
well,
fair.
All right. I can't wait to see who wins. I can't wait
That's
to see.
That's actually what we put their short money to is data golf subscription. Rick Rungood subscription.
Boys, we've had enough. This podcast is ending. So that's all we have for you. Big thanks to not producer Jacob, but producer Josh for all of his hard work behind the glass. Doing a great job as always. Patrick McDonald, he's on Twitter at Amateur Status. Kyle Porter on Twitter at Kyle Porter CBS. If you're on YouTube, you see Rick in the picture. No Twitter handle. He is at Rick Rungood with a nice wave goodbye. And I'm Greg DuCharme at The Real GFD. And we'll catch you on